It's been really interesting seeing this come out, because as soon as I saw this, I was like, yeah, sure. Yes, of course, the Young Republicans Coalition, a group of predominantly young people who usually have ties to, if not groypers, then just like incel groups, 4chan, just the general alt-right dipshittery that we've become accustomed to. The thing that's been really fascinating about this, though, is that because we have the most terminally online, influencer-led political party ever with the conservative movement, a lot of people have just been hand-waving these things away as just jokes. And in that, I think there is something to be learned for what speech these folks think is acceptable. And it's like what I was saying earlier, where it's always for me, not for thee. So they will revoke visas and deport people who talk shit about Charlie Kirk. But these being made by people who have actual ties and affiliations to active politicians, well, these are just jokes. Even fucking let me see. But I want to read this before we go into the full leak, and then we'll talk about the reaction from other people like Tim Pool and Matt Walsh, who are also moving to just hand wave this way. It's just jokes. It's just jokes. The thing that everybody should keep in mind, especially right now, is that while these are just jokes to their definition, the last month, every joke that was a clear joke made about Charlie Kirk, they were calling for people to be arrested. They were calling for people, they literally, the state supported people having their jobs taken away from them, their livelihoods, their way to make money, support themselves and their family, right? They were totally okay threatening people's lives over jokes when it was against something, they found to be just sacrosanct. Republican Vice President J.D. Vance has weighed in several times to speak out against what he characterized as pearl clutching over the leaked messages. He posted a screen grab from 2022 text messages in which Jay Jones, Democrat candidate for Virginia's Attorney General, suggested that a prominent Republican get 2 bullets to the head. Quote, "This is far worse than anything said in a college group chat, and the guy who said it could be the AG of Virginia." By the way, a lot of young Republicans are not still in college. Like, one of the biggest dudes, part of the movement, is like older than me, in his 30s. So you'll see this also, another tactic they'll take in absence of being able to say like, oh, they're just jokes, is saying, well, they're just kids. These are just they're boys in college. Like they're gonna do all that shit again. Vance reiterated his initial sentiment Wednesday on the Charlie Kirk Show podcast. How? Okay. Now look, I know that public interest in Charlie Kirk has fucking cratered in the month since every craven attention whore that makes up the conservative movement just started like ripping off little parts of his corpse that they could use for publicity stunts. But at a certain point, I feel like you gotta let it go, man. Or at the very least, just like rename the podcast. When asked about the reporting that a, quote, person seriously wishing for political violence and political assassination is 1,000 times worse than what a bunch of young people, a bunch of kids say in a group chat, however offensive it might be. Vance, 41, said he grew up in a different era where most of the stupid things I did as a teenager and as a young adult, they're not on the internet. By the way, I have not read this story or the Politico article yet. I have just seen little snippets. So when I was making a prediction a couple minutes ago, I didn't know that it would come true so quickly. All this hand wringing, all these they're just kids. They're just kids. Let's dig into it. Let's dig into the Politico expose. Exclusive. Quote, "I love Hitler. Leaked messages expose young Republicans' racist chat. Thousands of private messages reveal young GOP leaders joking about gas chambers, slavery, and rape." Leaders of young Republican groups throughout the country worried what would happen if their Telegram chat ever got leaked, but they kept typing anyway. They referred to black people as monkeys and, quote, the watermelon people, and mused about putting their political opponents in gas chambers. They talked about raping their enemies and driving them to suicide, and lauded Republicans who they believed supported slavery. William Hendricks, the Kansas Young Republicans vice chair, used the words N-word and N-word duh, variations of a racial slur, more than a dozen times. Bobby Walker, vice chair of the New York State Young Republicans at the time, referred to rape as epic. Peter Guinta, who was at the time the chair of the same org, wrote in a message sent in June that, quote, everyone that votes no is going to the gas chamber. I feel the need to remind and reiterate that this is prescient, particularly at this moment, after everything we've had to deal with in the last fucking month. And there's a lot of people being like, this is just like Call of Duty lobby shit. Like, yeah. If you've been on the internet to any degree, this isn't that shocking. The fact that it is a established political group with ties to the modern conservative movement, however, is. And even more so, the fact that many conservative commentators, least of all the fucking vice president, is defending it, is unconscionable as a joke. And that is entirely removed from the context that we just spent a month where every joke, every obvious joke about Charlie Kirk was turned into a call for fucking civil war. Where people like Tim Pool, people like Matt Walsh were like, they want to kill me. They want to kill everybody in their family and all these libs. They hate you. Look at all the jokes they're making. This is them saying what we need to act first. But when this happens, when this comes out, when they are talking about gas chambers, not just joking about somebody's death, but joking about deaths of an entire group of people, multiple groups of people, then let's go see. Actually, you know what? Let's go see really quick. Why are you, okay. Look, I realize this is beside the point and this is a tangent, but, so that's the meme, is that, because it's Tim Pool, but it's, Pool, it's a brand name water. But, like, cheaper than liquid death and in glass bottles, it took us 2 hours to source the water, bottling, and to produce graphics, which I'm sure is, like, look at that shit, that's AI. Why are you bragging about how quick and shoddy and shitty your product is, dude? Like even if that's true, that it only took 2 hours, nobody for any product at all wants to hear like, hey, do you want my, look, check out this car. I made it in 2 hours. That's a little bit more severe, but it's like, if you were just like even simple stuff like a pen, hey, we engineered this pen top to bottom in 2 hours. What? No, what? See, this is what I'm talking about. Everything is a marketing opportunity to these people. Like we have a real shit going on, and for the last 9 hours, he's been fucking tweeting at Liquid Death trying to start beef with a fucking water bottle company or water company. Like, oh yeah, here we go. See, here's Tim Pool reposting and praising State Department revoked 6 visas over comments about Charlie Kirk's assassination. And then saying, I literally do not care what a bunch of magger college kids said in a group chat. I won't condemn a man without evidence. That being said, the lowest circle of hell is reserved for the disloyal and betrayer. So what he is saying here is that it is worse for somebody to have outed these group chats than the heinous racist shit that was said in them. But also good to revoke 6 visas over comments about Charlie Kirk's assassination. We love consistency, folks. We love consistency. Jack Posobiec, why are we even talking about this? It's an obvious media op to distract from the Charlie Kirk medal. You know that thing that everybody's talking about and everybody cares about? The reality is that kids do stupid things, especially young boys. They tell edgy, offensive jokes. That's what kids do. These people are 30 and 40. These are not children. These are like they want to make it look like the college Republicans. Oh, they're just a bunch of edgy 12-year-olds. These are adults, college kids who in many cases have fast tracks to offices. Not elected office, but like staffing and shit. Jesse Kelly, I don't care at all about the group chat story simply because I do not take part in communist ops against the right. Doesn't matter what the story is. Do you see, remember when I was talking about how they don't actually care about consistency? And people like Matt Walsh's case, he's gonna, they're gonna claim the line that, well, this is a Democrat op, and it's just trying to distract you from apparently the Charlie Kirk medal. But the reality is that Matt Walsh, as we saw a couple months ago now, with the Shiloh Hendricks incident, as we've seen, if you haven't watched the videos I did on Matt Walsh, please go watch them. Years ago now, just going back through his history, he is somebody who deeply, I fully believe Matt Walsh says like hard R N-words in private. Like 100%. You can't convince me he doesn't. He has made too many excuses for it at this point.
Offer was rescinded. Prominent New York Republicans, including Representative Elise Stefanik and State Senate Minority Leader Rob Ort, have denounced the chat. So has Ed Cox, the chair of the New York State GOP, along with the North Carolina Federation of Young Republicans, the Republican Party of Arizona, the Missouri GOP, the Kansas GOP, and many, many others.
Keep padding for time,
all
buddy.
of them lining up to say, I denounce this. I denounce it too. Hey, I also denounce it.
So here's the thing. Matt has been, you got to give him credit. He has been nothing if not consistent on the topic of cancel culture. And a lot of other people like Tim Pool are now falling in line. Which is to say that they don't believe in, he would tell you he doesn't believe in canceling people. That's the tool of the left. But what he really doesn't believe in is any kind of accountability or consistency. He doesn't care about ideological consistency. He doesn't care about being held accountable for remaining consistent. What he cares about is brutally bludgeoning anybody, ideologically or otherwise, who disagrees with him. And anything, he's making very clear here, anything to that end is acceptable. Jokes about gassing people to death, acceptable. Quote unquote jokes. Comments made in private about rape being epic, acceptable. This is why, at a core level, I need the libs to listen. If you've somehow found it to my channel, I need you to listen. The conservatives do not care about hypocrisy. They don't. It doesn't matter to them. And while you are calling out, well, actually you said this, and actually you said this, and isn't this thing in your bio? Doesn't your bio say theological fascist? And he'll go, well, obviously, that's obviously sarcastic. But it's not. You need to understand that they believe this shit. And not in a consistent way, of course. Not all of the people defending this believe, I'm sure, Jewish conspiracy theories or that everybody should be burned at the stake or gassed or whatever dumb bullshit these college Republicans said. They don't all believe the exact same things, but they believe the broad message that if you are on the left, you are less than human. You are lesser by nature of your existence. And that there is no judgment passed upon you that is undue. There is nothing that anybody could have said to people like Matt, to people like J.D. Vance, to people like Tim Pool, to people like fucking Jack Posobiec. There is nothing those college Republicans could have said about the left, about Democrats, that would not have garnered this exact same reaction. Because at their core, the overall idea of subjugating, of persecuting, of this perceived aggrievement against political enemies is in perfect lockstep with the shit people like Matt hawk every day. Yeah, so let's hear his ethos on why you shouldn't ever bow to cancel culture, because cancel culture is the tool of the left, and it's a communist thing, and whatever incoherent bullshit he's about to mumble.
You're denouncing it for, by the way. Who is that for? Who are you doing it for? You're doing it for the left. You're doing it for the mainstream media. You're doing it for their approval. It's the only reason you're doing it. If you have an actual problem, I don't know why this is so hard for people to grasp. If you have an actual problem with something that someone says,
you handle it in private.
Someone on the right says, and you're offended by it, or you think it's problematic, or whatever. You can reach out to them in private.
This again, for thee, not for me. This from the same dude who has now made 2, feature films, 2 documentaries. He'll say going undercover, intentionally goading people and pushing them and misrepresenting what is said in interviews to make them look as dumb as possible. That's his whole thing, Matt. What Politico did, going undercover and showing these chats, which, by the way, has way more journalistic integrity than anything you've ever fucking done. Because they didn't even have to goad them. They didn't even have to poke or prod. This is just watching the fish in the tank, Matt. This is them going about their day-to-day. Like, nobody should want to be associated with it. And it is so clear that at the very least, if Matt isn't outwardly proud to be associated with it, he's at least okay being associated with it. And honestly, that should tell you everything you need to know. And what he's talking about, people being canceled doing the job of the left, is grown-ass adults using racial slurs in private. Because when you have these, the thing is that I know, again, people like this realize fully. I'm using Matt as a succinct example because he is representative of such a massive sample of the conservative movement at this moment, who are still a little bit too smart to go as blatantly mask off as Matt does. Because most people realize that the shit you say in private that you won't say in public is the shit you actually believe. Even if you think it's a joke. The fact that you think you are safe to say it, it speaks to deeper beliefs than the ones you might come out and admit in public. So, for example, making jokes about black people being monkeys might give some black Republicans, maybe black young Republicans, pause about being in that same movement. Maybe people who are people of color who have been somehow duped into joining these organizations would like to be made aware that they are being run by white nationalist groypers. But no, we can't do that. You gotta keep it in the background. It's attitudes like Matt, which, by the way, Matt was the same guy who said, well, obviously, God, what did he fucking say about the Catholic Church? The way to get priests to stop being pedophiles basically was to not allow gay men in the Catholic Church. Because only gay men are pedophile priests. According to Matt Walsh. Just an intellectual bastion over here. It should be no surprise that with minds much like this, running everything, running places like ICE, running the DEA, running FBI, we have seen and will continue to see so many more scandals involving abuse, trafficking, and the cover-ups of all those things. Because this is the kind of attitude that leads to that behavior. A lack of vigilance, a lack of safeguarding for even the own basics of your ideological movement. Sacrificing consistency, sacrificing belief for sheer force, for sheer cohesion. Because it makes us look bad to call out racists. Matt, think about what you're saying. Really think about it. You are telling the world that you think it makes you look bad to call out people calling for the deaths of their political enemies, making jokes about the Hitler aesthetic, gassing people to death. I want to see the reactions really quick from people like Matt, JD, and Tim Pool before we go back into it, because, oh boy, there's so much more. There's so much more. And I want you to keep these things in mind as we go into that. This is such an important preference. Every time you keep hearing and keep seeing all the shit that Politico is reported on, you need to be thinking, oh, they think this is okay. They have given essentially their tacit approval for these kind of conversations with behavior, broadcasts, conversations like this. The 2,900 pages of chats shared among a dozen millennial and Gen Z Republicans between early January and mid-August chronicle their campaign to seize control of the young Republican organization on a hardline pro-Trump platform. Many of the chat members already work inside government or party politics, and one serves as a state senator. Should be some alarm bells probably about now when people like JD Vance and Matt Walsh are trying to spin this as, well, they're just kids. Of course, they kids. No, they are active political party members. They are active in state and local government. And I want you to then extrapolate from that. Spin that into, contemplate it a little bit more. What the fuck do you think people like Matt Walsh then are saying? Together, the messages reveal a culture where racist, anti-Semitic, and violent rhetoric circulate freely, and where the Trump-era loosening of political norms has made such talk feel less taboo among those positioning themselves as the party's next leaders. Quote, the more political atmosphere is open and liberating, like it has been with the emergence of Trump and a more right-wing GOP even before him. It opens up young people and older people to telling racist jokes, making racist commentaries in private and public, said Joe Fegan, a Texas A&M sociology professor who has studied racism for the last 60 years. He's also concerned the words would be applied to public policy. Quote, it's chilling, of course, because they will act on these views. The dynamic of easy racism and casual cruelty played out often in dark, vivid fashion inside the chats, where campaign talk and party gossip blurred into streams of slurs and violent fantasies. This is the dude, by the way, people like JD Vance are trying to sell you. Oh, kids, they make dog. Quote, Trump's too busy burning the Epstein files, Alex Dwyer, chair of the Kansas Young Republicans, wrote in one instance. A bunch of people declined to comment. Gunta claimed the release of the chat is part of a, quote, highly coordinated year-long character assassination led by Gavin Wax and the New York City Young Republican Club, an allusion to a once obscured internecine war that has now spilled into the open. God, all of these fucking people are named just like Burt Bickle, Dirk Benson. These logs were sourced by way of extortion and provided to Politico by the very same people conspiring against me, he said. What's most disheartening is that, despite my unwavering support of Trump since 2016, rogue members of his administration, including Gavin Wax, have participated in this conspiracy to ruin me publicly simply because I challenged them privately. You noticing a lot of this kind of same rhetoric around this shit. I mean, it shouldn't be surprising. Like, it's not surprising at this point that Trump's constant whinging would lead to this exact same, like the same kind of follower replicating his behavior, right? Like, oh, it's all just fake news. It's all just a hit piece. At least one person in the Telegram chat works in the Trump admin, Michael Bartels, who, according to his LinkedIn account, serves as a senior advisor in the Office of General Counsel within the U.S. Small Business Admin. Didn't have much to say in the chat, but he didn't offer any pushback against the offensive rhetoric either. He declined to comment. 251 times. Mixed into formal conversations about whipping votes, social media strategy, and logistics, the members of the chat slung around an array of slurs, which Politico is republishing to show how they spoke. Epithets like the F slur, the R slur, and the N slur appeared more than 251 times combined. In one instance, Walker, who was at the time a staffer for Ort, talked about how a mutual friend of some in the chat dated this very obese Indian woman for a period of time. Gwinter responded the woman was not Indian. She just didn't bathe often. Sam Douglas, a state senator from northern Vermont and the head of the state's Young Republicans, replied. In a separate conversation, Ginta shared that his flight to Charleston, South Carolina landed safely. Then he offered some advice to his fellow young Republicans. Quote, if your pilot is a she and she looks 10 shades darker than someone from Sicily, just end it there. Scream the no-no word. Douglas did not respond to requests for comment. Yeah, no shit. I wonder how, again, shows how incredibly cucked J.D. Vance is that, like, they can talk this way about Indian women. J.D. Vance is literally married to an Indian woman. And he's like, oh, this is just, offensive jokes. You fucking bitch. J.D. Vance, almost as much as Elon Musk, I think, is desperate to be liked by, like a young, cool, online conservative contingent. Yeah, that sure is. I don't want to judge anybody. I don't want to judge a book by its cover. But if I needed to look up a picture in a dictionary of young Republican, parenthetical, derogatory, that's what that picture would look like. Private rhetoric isn't happening in a vacuum. It comes amid a widespread coarsening of the broader political discourse, and as incendiary and racially offensive tropes from the right become increasingly common. Last month, Trump posted an AI video that showed, the fucking Hakeem Jeffries sombrero video. Liz Houston, a White House spokesperson, rejected the idea that Trump's rhetoric had anything to do with the chat members' language. Only an activist left-wing reporter would desperately try to tie President Trump into a story about a random group chat he had no affiliation with, while failing to mention the dangerous smears coming from, what fucking dangerous smears, who have fantasized about murdering their opponent and calling Republicans Nazis and fascists. No one has been subjected to more vicious rhetoric and violence than Trump and his supporters. Oh, here we go. Here's more stuff that they again. Jeez. Look. Like, what do you even say at a certain point? Like, so first I want to, before we look, I know this is a fun teaser for what's about to come, but you gotta, eat your vegetables before we get to our dessert. When Luke Mossaman, chair of the Arizona Young Republicans, asked if the New Yorkers in the chat were watching an NBA playoff game, Ginta responded, quote, I'd go to the zoo if I wanted to watch monkey play ball. Ginta elsewhere refers to black people as, quote, the watermelon people. Hendricks made a similar remark in July. Bro is at a chicken restaurant ordering his food. Would he like some watermelon and Kool-Aid with that? God, it's like, you're right. Like the offensiveness of it is like so antiquated. It's almost more offensive that they have no original ideas. That this is the shit that Matt Walsh, J.D. Vance, the vice president, looked at this and was like, yeah, that's okay. Look at all of these large adult sons. And they're gonna call this a child. Did J.D. Vance only see his head? Is that what happened here? He only saw the top part? He only saw the little, just that little, the little pimple at the very top of it? You know who he's built like? It's kind of uncanny, honestly. Like if he had more of a workout schedule, he could really get that vibe going. Oh, weird. Ginta, who serves as chief of staff to New York State Assemblymaker Mike Riley, ultimately fell 6 points short of winning the chairship to lead the Young Republicans National Federation, despite earning endorsements from Stefanik and longtime Trump advisor Roger Stone. So again, if somebody tells you, or if you hear from anybody saying, "Oh, they're just kids, they're just college Republicans," like, they are fucking lying to you. They either A, have not actually looked into who these people are and the ties they have to the party, or B, they are purposely obfuscating that. They are intentionally trying to mislead you to make it seem, oh, it's not that big of a deal. We don't all think like this. When every one of these little scumbags has roots that go into fucking Washington. Stone also condemned the comments in his statement. I, of course, would never have seen this I have never seen this alleged chat room thread. If it is authentic, I would, of course, denounce any such comments in the strongest possible terms. See, Roger Stone, a far more experienced, conniving political grifter than Matt Walsh. Like, Roger knows when you let the mask drop, when you keep it up. Roger knows to be like, oh, yes, no, of course, I disavow. Matt Walsh doesn't have the... He doesn't have that discernment. He's too impulsive. He is too driven by his emotion. One was a late July message where Mosman, the chair of the Arizona Young Republicans, mused about how a group could win support for their preferred candidate by linking an opponent to white supremacist groups. But Mosman then realized the plan could backfire. Kansas Young Republicans could end up becoming attracted to that opponent. Like the jokes write themselves. Can we get them to start releasing Nazi edits with her? Like pro-Nazi and fascism propaganda, he asked the group. OMG, I'd love this plan. Rachel Hope, Arizona Young Republican events chair, responded, quote, the only problem is we will lose the Kansas delegation, Mosman said. Weeks later, someone in the chat staying in a hotel asked its members, guess what room we're in? 1488, Dwyer responds. In another conversation in February, Ginta talks approvingly about the Orange County Teenage Republican Organization, which appears to be part of a national network of national teenage Republicans, how he was pleased with the young members' ideological bent. Quote, they support slavery and all that shit. Mega based. The term based in internet culture is used to express approval with an idea, one that's bold or controversial. Members of the Telegram chat speak about their personal lives, too. Extensive discussions about their everyday lives include one exchange about how devoutly Catholic some chat members are and how often they attend church. Many of the slurs, epithets, and violent language often appear to be intended as jokes. Mosman was derided by members of the chat as I don't even feel that's a slur to me. Like, I know people who've had that used against them, so I'm not fucking saying that. Stay in the closet, F-slur. I almost just actually said the word, sorry. That's one I can say. Stay in the closet. Walker of New York jested in July. Group used slurs against Asians too. Quote, many people built the train tracks with the Chinese. Spanish came to America, had sex with every single woman. Sex is gay, Dwyer writes. Sex, it was rape. Epic, Walker says. This is what conservatives are okay with. Like, this is what adults talking about behind closed doors. They will lie to you to your fucking face and say, well, they're just kids. Whom among us have not? Jokes about rape being epic, says Vice President J.D. Vance. Minnesota F-slurs, he messaged. Arkansas, inbred cow fuckers. Nebraska, revolt in our favor. Maryland, fat stinky Jew. Rhode Island, traitorous cunts who I will eradicate from the face of this planet. Ginta also said he planned to make one of the competing young Republicans, quote, unalive himself on the convention floor. In another instance, Douglas, the Vermont state senator, that's this guy, describes to the group members how one of Paget's Jewish colleagues may have made a procedural error related to the number of Maryland delegates permitted at the national convention. Quote, I was about to say you're giving nationals too much credit and expecting the Jew to be honest. Breonna Douglas, Sam's wife and Vermont Young Republicans National Committee member, replied to her husband's message. Breonna Douglas did not respond to repeated requests for comment. So a sitting senator talking about expecting a Jew to be honest. But no. I know I'm hammering it home, but I feel it's so important to just reiterate. This is acceptable for the conservative movement. If you think pointing out their hypocrisy, after this, after they just spent a month trying to tar and feather everybody who made a joke about their favorite podcaster, and this is the thing that they go with sitting senators involved in this kind of bullshit publicly, and they're coming out to defend it, you need to understand hypocrisy doesn't mean anything. While reporting this article, Politico was examining a separate allegation that Ginta and the Young Republicans mismanaged New York finances and hadn't paid at least one venue for a swanky holiday party. Yeah, no shit. Shocking. Nothing more than a sad and pathetic attempt at a political hit job, but in their chat, he and Walker speak flippantly about mishandling the club's finances. NYSYR account be like 500, Balding Cream 1,000, Ozempic, Walker said in one message. If we ever had a leak of this chat, we'd be cooked for real, he wrote. Not really. Like, that's the sad, unfortunate thing, is that broadly, they're not cooked over this. This is not the thing that is going to get people to stop supporting them. This isn't going to change anybody whose mind isn't already made up at this point. And because of the propaganda spin from people now like the fucking vice president doing a podcast, they're putting even more effort into creating these narratives in real time and then maintaining them for all their fans. And the narrative for this one is that, these were just kids. They are lying to your face. Because the reality is, the truth is, and they're barely even trying to, like, the most insulting thing is that the membrane is so thin. They're barely even trying to fucking cover it up. The truth, that they think you're dumb enough to fucking believe this shit. They think you're dumb enough to think for a fucking second that they don't all think this way. I'm not saying every conservative out there, but I am saying the people who are jumping up to defend this, who are trying to paint it as some kind of, just a foible among the young, the easily led astray. What 17-year-old? No. These are adults who know what they're doing, and so do the people defending them. Nobody should forget that.